What's up guys, Squid Dude here, and today I have a trick and tip video for you on the space Clapton technique that was originally created by Ray Bad over on Instagram. I'll have a direct link to his Instagram in the video description, so take a moment, head over there, check out his body of work, see what he's all about. But for those of you that have seen the staple staggered fuse Clapton tutorial on my channel, or the staggered fuse Clapton tutorial on Twisted Messes channel, then you know that the traditional way in which we achieve a space Clapton is by taking two wires and parallel Clapton wrapping your core and then putting the drill in reverse and removing one of those wires. Well, what Ray Bad has done is he's come up with a way to achieve this same look and same consistency by using one piece of wire and not wasting all the wire that the traditional method yields. So before getting into that, I just want to quickly say I apologize. I know it's been 2 or 3 months since I've uploaded any new content, but shit happens. And to all of my subscribers out there who have stuck with me during this dry spout, I greatly appreciate it. Moving forward, I plan on, my goal at least, is to upload one trick and tip video and one advanced build tutorial a month for the next 12 months. I'm also going to add a segment for beginning and intermediate builds. Ever since the inception of this YouTube channel, I have constantly been asked to go over more basic things, so I'm hoping to start that segment later this month and having at least one of those videos uploaded on top of the advanced builds and so forth. So to help me help you, if you could, please take a moment and in the comments perhaps write down something that you would like to see me cover. Maybe it's a full-blown tutorial, maybe it's a technique or something that you're struggling with. I will read all the comments. I may not get around to answering all of them, but I would greatly appreciate it, and thank you for doing that. So for this technique, you will of course need a drill, and this technique does require that you use swivels. So if you're unfamiliar with swivels, I do have another trick and tip video that's based around swivels, so go check that out. I'm sure I'll use some pliers, and for the wire I will be using 24 gauge Anarchist competition wire for my core, and I will be using 32 gauge Canthal for my Clapton wire. I'm using 32 gauge for the sake of the tutorial, and it will be a little bit easier to see on film. However, I have been able to successfully use this technique all the way down to about 42 gauge. So this technique does work with the finer gauge wires, but like I said, for the tutorial, 32 gauge will suffice. Alright, so you'll want to go ahead and set everything up. I'm just using a vise, and I have these swivels screwed to a piece of wood because I'm using a standing drill, but if you're using a corded drill and you lay it down however you're used to doing it, you'll want to go ahead and straighten your core wire. In this case, I'm using the 24 gauge Anarchist. You'll want to fix it to one end of the swivel and then mount it into your drill. And then you'll also want to take about 6 inches of whatever your outside Clapton wire is going to be. In this case, I'm using 32 gauge, and you'll take that 6 inches and you'll make a loop out of it and twist the two free ends together and make it to where it's nice and sturdy and you have this loop. And the first part of this, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a regular Clapton, and we're going to get a little bit away from the jaws of the drill. That way when we go to put the loop on there, our fingers and everything aren't right up against the jaws, and it makes it a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so once you get the wire a little bit away from that jaw, we're just going to quickly unmount the core, and you're going to take your loop you made and put it in there, and then we'll remount it back. I'll show you what this looks like. Make sure you get it nice and tight. Alright, so if you're used to holding the spool in your hand, this might be a little tricky, but what you want to do with the loop is you want to get it butt up right against that core, or excuse me, right against the 32 gauge wire that's feeding to the core. And once you get that in position, on the other end of the loop, you're gonna go ahead and hold it with your other finger, and I'll also be holding the other piece of 32 gauge that's feeding to the core with this hand as well. So that's the idea. And then you'll just want to go ahead and go slow at first so you can get it butt up against each other. I'm pulling down a little too hard. There we go. So that's the Space Clapton technique, and as you can see, it creates a nice, perfectly even spaced Clapton for all of your staggered variation builds. It may take you a couple tries to get it down, but once you do, I think it's a great tool to have in the arsenal. So I hope this was informative and helpful, and if you get a chance, head over to squiddude.com and check out my website I just launched, and we'll see you next time.